My name is Kenji Tanaka, and this is how I broke my family's legacy to capture my own. It began with one night, a night that still flashes in my mind. I stood in a Seattle gallery under stark white lights, my photographs lining the walls, each frame a piece of my soul. The crowd buzzed, but then I saw my dad, storming through the door, his face tight with rage. "Kenji, you chose this over us?" he shouted, silencing the room. I'd skipped the 30th anniversary of our family's sushi restaurant to be here, defying their orders. "You've disgraced us," he said later, voice like a blade. I didn't flinch. I was done being their heir, but that night sparked a war I wasn't ready for. Let me take you back. I grew up in Seattle's Japantown, where cherry blossoms framed lantern-lit streets and the air smelled of miso and rain. My parents, Hiroshi and Aiko Tanaka, came from Osaka in the 90s, building Tanaka Sushi from nothing. My dad was the chef, his hands precise with a knife. My mom ran the front, her smile welcoming but firm. They were community anchors, hosting Obon festivals, teaching kids origami. To them, family was duty, and I was its future. I was the perfect son, straight A's, rolling sushi after school, speaking Japanese at home. I was Kenji-kun, bowing to elders, eating oden with my obachan's tales of Kyoto. But at school, I was Kenji, the kid who lived for photography. Street shots, candids, moments frozen in time. I'd sneak to Pike Place Market, snapping strangers, dreaming of galleries. Photography was my lens, but my parents saw it as a distraction. They had one plan. I'd run Tanaka Sushi. "It's our heritage, Kenji," my mom would say, voice gentle but unyielding. My dad was blunt. "Photos? That's for hobbyists. You're Japanese. Honor us." To them, my passion was a rejection of Bushido, duty and loyalty, but every time I prepped fish or greeted customers, I felt like I was blurring out of focus. The tension grew in high school. I got into University of Washington, where my parents thought I'd study business. Instead, I took photography electives, hiding my portfolio. My best friend, Maya, a Mexican-American painter, was my confidant. "Your shots are alive, Kenji," she'd say, flipping through my prints. "Don't let them fade." I wanted to believe her, but the lies weighed me down. The breaking point came in my sophomore year. Japantown's art festival hosted a gallery show open to young artists. Maya urged me to submit my series, black and white shots of Seattle's unseen corners. "This is you," she said. I'd never shown my work publicly. My parents called photography shameful for a Tanaka, but I was tired of hiding. I told myself I'd do it just once, and they'd never know. I tried to cover my tracks, saying I was at a study group. My mom nodded, but my dad was preoccupied with the restaurant's anniversary party, a community milestone. The gallery night, my nerves were raw. I wore a black hoodie, jeans, my camera slung over my shoulder. The space was packed. Artists, critics, locals. My photos hung proud, each a story. When the curator praised my raw vision, I felt seen. Then my dad appeared. A family friend had tipped him off, spotting me at the gallery. His shout froze me. The crowd parted, eyes on us. "You lied!" he roared. "This is more important than us?" "I'm not your clone," I snapped, voice shaking. "This is who I am." My mom arrived, tears streaming. "Kenji, why? We built this for you." "Because I'm dying inside," I said, tears burning. "I'm not your sushi chef, I'm Kenji." My dad's voice was ice. "Leave. You're not welcome home." I didn't go. I ran to Maya's, her mom letting me stay. "You were brave," Maya said, but it felt like betrayal. I'd exposed my vision, but lost my family. I didn't know how deep that cut would go, or what truth would reframe it all. I thought bearing my soul through my photos at that gallery would set me free, but it didn't. It built a wall between me and my parents, taller with every silent stare. My dad's shout, "You've disgraced us!" rang in my ears, and my mom's tears stung worse than any words. I was Kenji, chasing my lens, but also Kenji-kun, the son who'd shamed his family. Japantown buzzed with gossip, elders muttering at the temple, neighbors whispering over sake. My parents carried the weight, their legacy tarnished. I felt guilt, but I buried it. They wanted a sushi chef. I wanted to see the world in focus. Home was no longer an option. I stayed at Maya's, her mom letting me crash on their couch. "You shook things up, Kenji," she said, handing me a blanket. "What's next?" I didn't know. My dad's order to leave felt final, but I was too stubborn to crawl back. Maya kept me steady. "Your photos are art," she'd say, scanning my prints. Her faith pushed me forward, but it couldn't fill the void my family left. School was my escape. I dove into UW's photography program, shooting projects, editing late. My gallery series, black and white shots of Seattle's margins, got traction online, hitting 25,000 views with comments like, "This is raw," and "Who's this shooter?" Maya posted them, hyping me up. It felt good, but every like reminded me of my parents' silence. They hadn't called, and I hadn't either. Then came a break. Maya's friend, Elena, worked at a local arts mag, Seattle Pulse. She'd seen my gallery and offered me a freelance gig, a photo essay on the city's hidden communities. "You've got an eye, Kenji," she said over coffee. "This could open doors." It was my shot. Paid work, a byline, maybe a path to galleries in LA. But the shoot clashed with my parents' annual Obon Festival booth, where they expected me to help honor our ancestors. My mom texted, "Kenji-kun, we need you. It's family." I was torn. The gig was my future. The festival was their soul. I tried compromising, helped set up, skip the ceremony, but my dad shut me down. "You will be there," he said, voice like steel. I lied, claiming a school project. My mom sounded wary, but my dad was too busy with the booth to argue. I hated the deception, but I needed this chance. The shoot day, I stood in Maya's apartment, packing my camera bag, lenses ready. My phone buzzed with my mom's texts. "Festival's starting. Where are you?" I muted it, nerves on edge. Maya drove me to a homeless encampment, the first stop for my essay. I shot candids, faces etched with stories, tents under overpasses. Elena watched, nodding. "These are powerful," she said. "Send me the set. We might feature you." I left buzzing, like I'd framed my purpose. But my high crashed when I checked my phone. A voicemail from my dad, voice shaking. "You lied, Kenji. A neighbor saw you shooting photos. You're no son of ours." Someone from the festival must have spotted me. I looked at Maya, who'd heard it. "You're in deep," she said. I stayed at her place, too scared to face them. Next morning, my mom texted, "You heard us, Kenji-kun. Come home." Guilt surged, but so did defiance. They'd never backed my photography. Why apologize? I worked on my essay, but my parents' faces haunted every shot. Then my uncle, Taro, called. "I'm not taking sides," he said, "but your dad's struggling. He's quiet, not himself. They miss you." His words shook me. I'd been so angry I hadn't seen their pain. "They want a chef, not me," I said. "They're scared," he said. "Talk to them." I hung up, his words sticking like a stubborn exposure. Scared? My dad, the sushi master who built a legacy from nothing? It didn't add up, but it lingered. That night, I edited a new photo, a blurred shot of Japantown's lanterns, soft and warm. Maya saw it. "That's home, Kenji," she said. "That's you." I didn't know a crisis was coming, one that would force me to face my family and a truth that would shift my focus. I thought chasing my photography would sharpen my life, but it blurred everything. Every shot I took carried my parents' absence, my dad's rage, my mom's tears. I was Kenji, framing my truth, but also Kenji-kun, the son who'd broken their honor. I stayed at Maya's, her couch my haven. "You can't dodge them forever," her mom said, passing me coffee. She was right, but my dad's words, "You're no son of ours," cut too deep to go home. I buried myself in work. Seattle Pulse loved my photo essay drafts, and Elena pushed for more shoots. My online series hit 50,000 views, with comments like, "This guy sees the soul of the city." Maya hyped me, but success felt empty. My parents hadn't called, and Japantown's gossip, Hiroshi's wayward boy, stung their pride. Then came a jolt. I got a text from my uncle, Taro. "Kenji, your mom's in the hospital, fainted at the restaurant. Virginia Mason, now." My stomach dropped. My mom was 48, spry, always bustling at Tanaka Sushi. It didn't add up. Maya drove me through Seattle's drizzle, my mind racing, her sad eyes, my lies, the festival I'd skipped. At the hospital, my dad sat in the waiting room, face ashen, hands clasped. He saw me and stood, eyes raw. "She's okay," he said, voice flat. "Stress, dehydration. They're keeping her for tests." Guilt choked me. "Is it because of me?" I asked, voice cracking. He looked away, silent. Taro pulled me aside. "It's not just you," he said. "The restaurant's tight and your fight's hitting them hard. They miss you, Kenji." His words landed heavy. I'd been so caught up in my lens I hadn't seen their hurt. "Can I see her?" I asked. My dad nodded, leading me to her room. My mom lay in bed, pale, an IV dripping. She smiled weakly. "Kenji-kun," she whispered, "you're here." "I'm sorry," I said, tears spilling. "I didn't mean to hurt you." "Not your fault," she said, squeezing my hand. "We pushed too hard. I wanted you safe." I wanted to explain how photography was my breath, how I felt caged. But I just held her hand, her fingers frail. My dad watched, quiet. For a moment, I felt a flicker of hope, like we could stitch this back together. But the next day, my mom was stronger, fussing about hospital rice, while my dad stayed distant. Alone, he said, "Kenji, we need to talk about your mom, why this happened. It's deeper than you know." I braced for a lecture, but a nurse interrupted, checking charts. My dad shut down, the moment gone. I left confused, his words nagging. Deeper than me? What was he hiding? At Maya's, I shot more for the essay, capturing Japantown's quiet corners, lanterns, shrines. Elena loved them. "This is your heart," she said. The mag set a feature deadline, but it clashed with my mom's hospital discharge dinner, a family gathering Taro was hosting. I was split. The feature was my shot. My mom's collapse was my fault. I told Elena, expecting her to push the deadline. "Family's root," she said. "We'll wait." I paced Maya's room, replaying my dad's words. Deeper than you know. Taro had hinted at something too. I called him. "Your mom's been off," he said, "talking about her past in Osaka. Ask your dad." I didn't want to, scared of what I'd hear, but it framed every shot I took. The deadline loomed, the dinner called, and my parents' secret felt like a shadow in my viewfinder. I had to choose, my vision or my family. I didn't know one truth would refocus everything I thought I knew. I was trapped between my lens and my legacy, Seattle Pulse's feature deadline pulling me toward my dream, my mom's hospital bed tethering me to home. My dad's words, "It's deeper than you know," haunted me, hinting at a secret I couldn't unsee. I wanted to frame my future, but Taro's voice echoed, "Your mom's been off." I didn't know one truth would refocus my family's story, and my own. The day before the deadline, I was at Maya's, editing photos, my mind a blur. My dad's text burned, "Your mom's home tomorrow. Be there, Kenji-kun." Maya caught me staring at it. "Go, Kenji," she said. You'll hate yourself if you don't. She was right. My new shots of Japantown's lanterns had stirred something. I couldn't move forward without facing them. I texted my dad I'd come for my mom's homecoming. He replied, "Good." I didn't mention the feature. Too messy. Elena was understanding when I asked for an extension. "Family first," she said. "We'll wait." As I packed my camera, I felt like I was risking my vision, but my mom's frail form weighed heavier. Home smelled of dashi and memory. Taro hugged me, whispering, "Be kind." My mom sat in the living room, a shawl around her, looking tired but warm. My dad stood nearby, eyes heavy. "Kenji-kun," my mom said, voice soft. "You're here." "I had to be," I said, sitting close, hands unsteady. Silence settled, thick with our fights. I wanted to apologize, but my dad spoke. "We need to talk," he said, eyes on my mom. "About why we pushed you. It's her past." I braced for blame, but then came the twist. The truth that reframed everything. "Your mom was an artist," he said, voice low. "In Osaka, she painted abstract, bold, shown in galleries. I was a chef, practical. When we married, I told her to stop, said it wasn't stable for a family. She did it for us, for you. But it broke her. Seeing you chase photography, it dug up her pain. We pushed you to the restaurant to spare you her regret." I stared at my mom, her eyes glistening. My mom? A painter? The woman who demanded I run Tanaka Sushi had been like me? "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked, voice breaking. "I was ashamed," she said, trembling. "I thought hiding it would protect you, but I was wrong, Kenji. I dimmed your light, and it hurt me." The room spun. My mom had buried her art for us, just as I'd fought to keep mine. My dad's rules, her silence. It was their fear I'd end like her, hollow. "I'm sorry," I said, tears falling. "I thought you wanted to control me." "We wanted to save you," my dad said, voice cracking. "But we lost you." My mom reached for my hand, and I hugged her, sobbing. My dad joined, his grip strong but shaking. We cried, raw and real, the blur between us clearing. I delayed the feature. Elena gave me a week. I stayed home, helping my mom recover. One night, she showed me her old paintings, hidden in the basement, vivid swirls of color, Osaka's pulse. "You're better than I was," she said, smiling. I laughed, tears in my eyes. My dad watched, softer now, and we talked about her art, my shots, the dreams we'd locked away. My photography grew. I wove Japanese elements, sakura, torii gates, into my shots, honoring my roots. I finished the essay, and Seattle Pulse featured it, my name in print. My online work hit 100,000 views, and Japantown warmed. Taro shared a post writing, "Kenji's our artist." I got a scholarship to a photography program, and my parents came to my UW exhibit, my dad clapping loudest, my mom framing my prints at home. But my mom's secret showed me I could have both. Legacy steadies you, vision frees you. I'm Kenji Tanaka, capturing my truth, carrying my family's love. The frame is mine, but so is home.